Why hello everyone, Sean here, and the day has finally come, marking the new generation of gaming. My PlayStation 5 is sitting below me, just waiting to be opened. So we're gonna do an unboxing, and then probably in the same video I'm gonna try it out and get my overall impressions and stuff like that. I will give my thoughts about it in between, but first things first, the unboxing. So let's bring up this big boy over here. Oh boy. Oh man, this thing is massive. So as you can tell, it is indeed the PlayStation 5. It is quite heavy. I hope it's not like full of like bricks or anything like that. That would certainly be a massive disappointment. But anyway, to put it nicely. But anyway, so yeah, this is the front of the box, as you can tell. And then let's see what it comes with in this box. So the console, of course, HDMI cable, instructions, I guess, wireless controller, power cable, the base or stand for this bad boy right here, and a USB cable to go along with that. So that's cool. This is the back of the box, right? Here's what it looks like. Hopefully the autofocus will help me out here, but anyway, I'm trying to have the camera do it for me today, because we're definitely gonna need it. So, anyways, the box is about to get opened. So, where do I start here? Man, this is pretty heavy already. So, I am anticipating for the size of it, but yeah, as you can tell, it is bigger than my chest for the box itself. But let me try to see if I can just open it by hand. I don't have my cutter on me. There we go. Just do it by hand. And it is unsealed. Oh boy. Okay. Let's put it down like that. And then let's see. Oh boy. Okay. We're going to pull this baby out and throw the box up to the side. But man, this came in not on launch day, but the day after. So a day late, technically, as I open this. So here goes the box. And there's another box. Great. Now let's go unveil this baby again. And then we have to pull out another box. But let's see. Oof. This is the first thing I see. What's in here? Oh, okay, so it's got all the essentials as the box address. So like the controller, cables, instructions, and all that stuff. Controller right here. We'll go through that in a bit. Let's put that to the side for a moment. Let's get to the main juicy bit of things, which is the console. Oh boy. Oh gosh. Okay. Oh boy. Alright. And while I am about to unveil this PlayStation, don't forget to like and subscribe. That would definitely help me out. So, oh boy. Let's put this standing up. Undress this baby. It is indeed. Oh. Wow. Here it is, ladies and gents. The PlayStation. Oh man. Look at this. Wow. Now, it's not as huge as I envisioned, but it is still pretty tall. Now, I'm not gonna go through the trouble of comparing. This is supposed to be 15 inches tall, right? You can look up the dimensions, so I'm not gonna do that because we need to get the video going. But man, I'm just eyeballing this baby, and I think it's definitely the best looking console yet, in my opinion. Besides, like, you know, like the GameCube, for example, because it's just a cube, right? But this is definitely the most contemporary, modern sort of design it's going for, in terms of consoles. So it is definitely looking different. It's interesting looking. You know, whenever people come into the house and see this, they're just like, "Whoa, what is this?" You know, it's a nice little conversation piece, rather than like the the rectangular cube or whatever you call it when it comes to the Xbox Series X. Not saying that's gonna factor into that being a better console or whatever, but neither this, it's just all looks and stuff like that. I mean, if you can take a look at that in comparison to me, it's like a big textbook, basically, or like a big photo album in comparison to me anyway. Yeah, it's not. It's definitely a little taller than your usual consoles, but it's not as big as I envisioned, is what I'm trying to say here. So on the back here, I don't know if you guys can see that, there's two USBs slots in here, and then the Ethernet slot, HDMI slot, and the power cord inlet right there. And then on the front, there is just one single USB, and then you can kind of see it, but it's a USB Type-C right up in the front, and there's the eject button, power button. And then I bought the disc edition, so it does have the slot right there, so that's cool. And what is this? We'll find out later. So I do want to test out how easy it is to take off the shell, and I kind of learned the trick. I think it was like this or something like that, or grab the PlayStation logo and then peel it back or something like that. But definitely not like, oh wow, it was actually really easy. It was actually really easy to come off. Okay, so let's put that back. Once that all lines up, there you go. It just clicks right back into place. So it's really easy. Wow, that's really cool. Okay. So, man, I am looking at the new generation of gaming. I believe this is the 8th generation or 9th generation. Kind of hard to keep up nowadays, but so yeah, there it is, the main attraction. And of course, take a look at the other things, like the controller, for example. I did unbox it previously from a separate unit. I do have another one right here, so I will try to get a dock for these two controllers so I can charge them at the same time and stuff like that. Power cable, as said. There's the USB Type-C to Type-A cable, both male. And then instructions, right? The essentials, and of course the base right here. So I think we don't need the base for when it comes to like standing it up like this, but no duh, right? But when it comes to like, setting up for a horizontal setup, the base will come in handy. Other than that, oh, there's the HDMI cable. Very nice. Very nice of them to offer that. So yeah. Unlike the separate controller, it doesn't come with like a cable or anything like that. You have to count on getting one from the PlayStation console. But you can also just buy. So for a more visual comparison of your consoles nowadays, I have a Nintendo Switch right here, and if I do a little side-by-side comparison, hopefully the autofocus kicked in, but so yeah, you can kind of tell of how wide and tall it is in comparison to the Nintendo Switch, sort of. So get a little idea, right, of how much bigger it is in comparison. And it's not even like catching the whole thing. Okay, there you go. So there it is. kind of funny, right? So that is the size comparison anyway. I like a more visual comparison. I know people in the past sort of complain about me not just taking out a ruler and measuring it. Well, why do that when I can just, visually, kind of make it a little more, over 15 inches tall or this wide, but, it's a little more fun that way for me, or interesting to kind of compare it to other products, so to say. So anyway, so that concludes the unboxing sort of things. I can't really say otherwise from the visual side of things. So looks interesting, looks great. It's got a sort of that textured finish sort of, so that way your fingerprints don't really like stick onto the console as much. When it comes to like the black accents in right here, like the centerpiece of things, yeah, it's already catching my fingerprints, which is kind of disgusting. For me, so but the main white shell doesn't do that as much, and yeah, so if you look closely, it does also have the PlayStation logo sort of texture going on. If you like look very closely, you can look that up on. I don't know if that's a practical design or not, but it is nice as an Easter egg of sorts. That's pretty cool. But yeah, so I gotta say it again. Kind of a tall boy, but not as tall as a lot of people made it out to be. I mean, at least for me anyway. Maybe for like shorter people that might be the case, but nonetheless though, it does look really nice. I'm gonna probably have this standing up for the very first time. All my consoles have always been laying down on the side like this, but because of the nature of my shelf, what's going on with that? Yeah, I'm gonna probably have to stand it up. So, but I think it'll be fine. It's been advertised as standing up in a lot of shots. So I think it's. So after playing the PlayStation 5 with a couple of games for several hours, a good amount of hours for each of them, and some testing and just playing around with the interface and all that stuff in general. Well, here's my sort of first impressions / review about the PlayStation 5 as a whole so far. I do like it so far. I think the interface and menu is passable. I think the more of like that Netflix sort of approach is easier on the eyes, and the flow and everything is nice. The look itself could use a little more improvement, and I think eventually it'll add more pop to it, like more themes, stuff like that. It just got started, so I'm sure they'll add some sort of like PlayStation 5 themes down the road and all that stuff. So I think that'll make it a little more visually pleasing, a little more fun to look at, you know what I mean? But for right now, it's very functional. It does the job really well for what it is. I can read the stuff on the menu really easily. The options and stuff like that is something you have to sort of mess around with before you sort of get into the PlayStation 5. For example, like the controller mic and all that stuff in between. I mean, that's kind of personally for me anyway, but so that'll like be possibly different for each person, but you'll have to tinker around the options. I had some trouble with the audio settings initially, but after switching it to 2 channels instead of like the 5.1 channel and whatnot, I was able to get the sound that I usually get going and all that stuff. So initially there wasn't I wasn't getting any sound from one system. I was only getting sound from this system, which is really weird or just unusual. But after tinkering it, like I said, now it's all good, and you'll have to probably do some tinkering yourself depending on what kind of setup you have in your room or in your house in general. So that's something to kind of look out for. But with the interface and the menu and how it is right now, it looks decent to say the least, and it's functional, and I do like how things just flow much quicker, like I was sort of hinting earlier, For example, like the PlayStation Store, you know, when you just hit down, you're instantly in the store. You know, instead of like hitting the menu, waiting for it to load and stuff like that, the flow is much quicker than you would have on the PlayStation 4. So I do like that. And you can like hit down for like each game, and you'll instantly go to the game page, and you're able to have access to the add-ons or whatever is that you need to add on to your game, whether it's like in-game purchases or whatever. You instantly access to there just by hitting down on each icon of the game on the main sort of menu anyway. I do wish for some sort of like folder function in the future, but then again, this sort of happened with the PlayStation 4. The folder function, I don't think it happened right away. So we'll probably see something like that, hopefully in the future for the PlayStation 5 when it comes to the menu anyway. It's just easier for me to organize stuff when it comes to like digital games and certain other games as well, you know, like fighting games or whatever it is that I want to organize with, or, you know, digital soundtracks, just like I kind of did on the PlayStation 4. Hopefully they have that function in the future. There's also one thing I want to add in before I forget. The PlayStation Plus this time around is also offering free games for a number of the PlayStation 4 major titles like God of War, I think even Persona 5, right? Games like that are free if you have the PlayStation Plus. So really good opportunity to catch up on those games if you missed out from that generation. So I think I will check out God of War eventually with that. I have no excuse now, so maybe eventually I'll get there, but we'll see about that. But I just wanted to throw that in there because I think that's a really cool feature or add-on that they have for the PlayStation Plus. You just have this access of these games for free if you have the PlayStation Plus membership. Now, when it comes to the more hardware and the games themselves, and when I mean hardware, I mean the controller, I do like how the controller actually feels now that I actually play with it. I'm a pretty firm believer now of the whole haptic feedback sort of kick that it's been getting, this whole gimmick that it has now with what the DualSense has to offer, and the adaptive triggers and whatnot. This was first demonstrated to me anyway when I was playing a game like, you know, Call of Duty Cold War, the newest Black Ops sort of title within the franchise, or sub-franchise anyway. Call of Duty Cold War, I was able to experience the adaptive triggers there, you know, with the different sort of guns that I tried out. You know, I guess like, I believe the heavier the gun or the bigger the gun, the more resistance I felt from not only the, you know, when I was shooting the gun, or, you know, when you can feel like the kickback and stuff like that with the haptic feedback vibrating, but when you aim down the sight, you can feel some resistance on the left trigger, which is usually to aim down the sight. You know, you feel some resistance, and I believe, like I said, the bigger the gun, you feel more of that resistance. So I think that's really cool. That's a nice little touch to it when it comes to like the more interactive side of things, the immersion sort of deal that you want in your video games without having to, you know, blow your wallet away or anything like that. You know, of course there's a VR and stuff like that, but that'll be probably for the future. But I do like the adaptive triggers. It's a nice little add-on. It's a nice little gimmick, and I think it's fun. It's a fun little gimmick to have coincide with your usual, I guess, interaction with gaming in general. So yeah, the shooting feels good. The vibration, stuff like that, the rumble, if you will. This is definitely, you know, the reason why, I guess, you know, companies like Nintendo call this HD rumble, because it does feel like a high definition version of the vibration / rumble. So HD rumble / haptic feedback, yeah, I definitely feel that, especially in the DualSense controller, more than the Joy-Cons anyway. I believe these ones are more powerful, so that's why you feel this pretty beefy vibration, and it comes in greater varieties now, which was demonstrated in Astral's Playroom. You know, a lot of people have been playing it, telling you guys, hey, you know, this adaptive trigger and also the haptic feedback in general really shows off in this particular game, Astral's Playroom, and I do believe that as well. You know, I ran across different surfaces and did a lot of actions and stuff like that just to get enough of that feel just to see, and you know, I run on the sand, on various surfaces like metal and stuff like that. It really shows that haptic feedback is able to convey different surfaces by giving off, you know, that much more accurate and various points of vibration. So I think that's a really cool thing. This can't be done with motors like the DualShock 4 and previous other controllers in general. They've always used motors, and you can only get so much out of it when it comes to those. There's some vibration, but there's not much of a variety there, so it kind of feels generic after a couple of times, right? But with haptic feedback, because of how it is, how it's built, what it's made with, you have more precise vibrations. So therefore, you know, whenever you walk on or interact with each surface or just a lot of other objects, there's a much greater difference between each of them. So I really do like this whole adaptive trigger thing and the haptic feedback being incorporated into these controllers, especially when they're more powerful. And for those who don't know already, haptic feedback has always been a thing with the smartphones. Smartphones have been using these things early on, very early on. I don't know when exactly, in terms of like year and month or something like that, but very early on, they're pretty much like the first major piece of technology that used this type of vibration. And that's kind of explains why, you know, you can like set up different sort of vibrations in greater varieties for different alerts. So that's why you can do that. And not only that, you know, the way it's built, it becomes more portable. So that's why all these other smartphones are able to be so flat nowadays and thin, because of how haptic feedback is. It's because, you know, it's basically two plates or just like a piece of special glass or whatever, depending on how it is. Basically a plate and with electric pulses, I believe, which creates a little more variety of vibrations. That's why you get those so much more variety for different kinds of vibrations. So that's why this whole thing really works so well in these controllers. It's great. It's such a fun little thing that I've been having fun with, and you know, ranging from Astral's Playroom to, well, Call of Duty with the guns and stuff like that. So I do like it. It just, the vibration just feels good, very satisfying, especially, you know, in games, in action games or shooting games like Call of Duty. I can't wait to like get this going even more when it comes to more games in the future. Maybe I will try games like Spider-Man, and also Miles Morales, of course, on the PlayStation, just to see if the haptic feedback there is even more crazy, or you know what I mean, like especially when you're swinging or when you're just running on different surfaces, right? Whether it's like wet surfaces or, you know, drier surfaces or more solid ones or metal and what have you. I think you get the point. I really like the haptic feedback incorporated into these controllers, and I think PlayStation really did a good job with it. And Sony has become sort of the standard when it comes to haptic feedback in gaming. So, unlike Nintendo, they were kind of the first ones to do it, right? But I think this time around, Sony has done it really well, and they've done it best so far. I don't know how it is on Xbox, but PlayStation, I know they really were pushing that, and I think they've done a good job with it so far anyway, with the games I've played so far. So enough about the controller. The games that I've tested with, speaking of which, you know, with Call of Duty and Astro's Playroom and all that, the loading and stuff like that, the fidelity, graphical fidelity and all that stuff so far, I think it does meet those standards. It does look like next-gen gaming so far, with those two games so far. But I mean, yes, it does look nice, but I'm sure games like Miles Morales will do a much better job showing off the graphics and all that stuff. There really isn't any other launch game that will do a good job doing that. There's always games like, you know, Killzone and stuff that really show off like the graphics and stuff like that. I think this time around, I think like the game that's supposed to do that is maybe Miles Morales. I don't know, but with the games I have so far, I that's enough for me to look next gen, and I'm convinced already. But you know, that's something you expect. So I think really, honestly, the most exciting part of this whole next gen of gaming, at least from the PlayStation 5 anyway, is the adaptive triggers and the whole haptic feedback sort of gimmick that these controllers have. The controllers themselves are what feel like next gen to me, just because the vibration is just so different. So it's just so much more prominent. There's bigger variety, so you just actually pay attention to it more because there's more variety. Unlike the DualShock 4 and previous controllers, because they don't have that much variety in vibration, you get used to it much quicker, and it just becomes like more like an afterthought. Unlike these, you know, haptic feedback sort of vibrations, and you know that's something I look forward to. If strangely enough, when it comes to more games in the future. Something I must also like to talk about is setting up the whole console. Setting up the whole console was pretty easy. I didn't really run into any trouble. Just setting up the languages and all that stuff, plugging in the controller to initiate the connection and all that stuff. Setting up with the TV and the sound system I have, which is like a sound bar, right? It was all easy. You know, there wasn't. I didn't run into any sort of difficulty, right? I guess the biggest hurdle in this whole setup was just, you know, PlayStation Plus or the cloud, right? But even that it wasn't that much trouble at all. I felt like I had to download something again, so that's why I just downloaded from the cloud again, just make sure I did have all the data transferred across. And the only game I've installed from my PlayStation 4 so far is Monster Hunter World Iceborne. And that's one of the games I really wanted to test it on the PlayStation 5, and it really beat that test with flying colors, right? Throughout the whole thing that I played in that test, basically 60 frames per second, butter smooth throughout the whole setting, no matter what setting you have in. So even if you have it in prioritizing graphics setting, it's absolutely constantly, like at least more consistently, if not all the time, 60 frames per second. It's really crazy. Who would have thought, you know, that it would take, you know, a system like that to get Monster Hunter looking that good, you know? You would wish that the PlayStation 4 Pro would do that, but you have to set it into prioritize frame rate, and even that, when the fights get intense, it just drops frames, and now it becomes even more noticeable now that I have the PlayStation 5, which is just absolutely mind-blowing and crazy. So I was very pleased with these results, or just what I saw, and it just felt great. I was really rusty at Monster Hunter first, but I got the hang of it. But anyway, I just forget how fun Monster Hunter is, and man, PlayStation 5 does definitely make it a lot better. It really cuts down. It felt like it cut down. It really felt like it cut down the loading times by just so much from my experience. I'll have to look at the footage right back to back and see what precisely, or how much precisely, times were cut when it comes to loading times between the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 Pro at that. So you would wish that the PlayStation 4 was the PlayStation 5, but I had a feeling that they were just gonna be like, hey, we're planning to make the PlayStation 5 anyway, so might as well just kind of sneak in some bits of upgrades for the PlayStation 4 Pro and sell it that way, and see how many people buy it, buy it as is. I was one of them, so while it did help when it comes to games like Monster Hunter, man, the PlayStation 5 just blows it out of the water. Consistent frame rates, faster load times. It was just butter smooth. Like, I did not feel any chunks from the short time I was playing against a certain monster, right? It was quite the experience. You know, if you just like run around the hub, you can definitely already tell that it is just so much of a better experience on the PlayStation 5 versus the PlayStation 4 Pro, you know, just from the hub itself. Even in the training room, I felt that as well. The combat was just so much smoother on the PlayStation 5. It is crazy. And who would have thought? You know, again, who would have thought? So, I would like to test that more with games like, you know, Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I think we've already reached the conclusion that yes, it is much better for games like Monster Hunter World Iceborne, for example. So that's important to me because I do like Monster Hunter, and this makes me very much look forward to the future Monster Hunter games, just because, you know, it just spells for more graphical design, and it's just really gonna kick up the fidelity and stuff like that, the graphical fidelity, the art direction, and stuff like that. Probably will bump down to 30 frames per second of how much crazy they'll go with, but if it's a consistent 30 frames per second, and because these consoles now are pretty much like entry-level PCs, I think we can definitely see, you know, more smoother Monster Hunter games and other games in general, I guess, hopefully in the future. So I think that's pretty much it. You know, to wrap up my entire thoughts, I'm pretty happy with the PlayStation so far. It's just sitting up there on the highest point of the shelf, like the Eye of Sauron, you know, like just literally the highest point on my shelf, looking down on me, you know, and it is a pretty tall boy, especially when you put it up in a higher shelf. It just looks even more tall from the front side of it anyway, but when you look at the side of it, it's not like super big, but yeah, I mean, within the consoles anyway, it is still pretty big. It's just I guess the guy who was doing the breakdown of the PlayStation 5 is more on the smaller side, and I'm like more like on the bigger side anyway, so not as big to me anyway. I'm like pretty much 6 feet anyway, so I'm definitely bigger than that guy for sure. Probably not the case for me, but maybe for some people it is pretty big. But you know, anyway, I like the design of it. I do like the interface, any design of the interface so far. Definitely they can improve upon it even more in future. The controllers feel great. The buttons and everything, the sticks, of course, feel great from what I've played so far. I love the adaptive triggers, the haptic feedback. That's pretty much like the biggest highlight for me so far for the console. So I'm pretty pleased with the PlayStation 5, and I definitely look forward to what games will be available for the PlayStation in the future. One of the only things I do want to complain about when it comes to the console itself is the lack of the optical audio cable or input. I've always used that as my input or output for my sound system, and I believe that makes it sound pretty good. Maybe it is improved when it comes to the HDMI to the point where you really don't need it anymore, I think, but I don't know, man. Maybe it's just something for me to get used to, but I've always found it a little more easy to set it up with the optical audio with the setup I have. But you know, I guess times are changing and they're trying to put everything into one cable, including the audio and stuff. So I guess that's just that. You know, there's no input at all or output, you know, given for the PlayStation 5. So there's nothing for that. I guess also I do wish there were more USB inputs for the front side of the PlayStation. There's only one, and also there's only one for the Type-C USB cable. So I don't know. I felt like there should be two, especially when you have the fighting game tournaments where, you know, you have to plug into the PlayStation. So it would have been a lot easier that way. But there's only one in the front, so it'll probably be some inconvenience once those fighting game tournaments go back to offline. That could be an inconvenience for a number of people, but who knows? Let's see what happens there. So that's the sort of initial complaints I have. I haven't ran into the problems of like, oh, the controller battery life is bad or anything like that, or is it short, or anything to that sort. other than the controller mic, you can't really like permanently like mute it to your liking. Like you have to mute it from the controller. I think there might be a trick, but I have to constantly stare at this yellow light, and it kind of looks ugly to me. So I just kind of wish that there was another way to just mute it forever, or just shut it off forever. If anyone has an idea or a way to mute the controller mic permanently from the settings or anyway, without having to hit the button, then please let me know in the comments. I would love to keep that in mind. But otherwise, you know, I hit the mute button on the controller, so I have to look at this like orange/yellow light constantly, you know, and it kind of, to me, it ruins the look of it. So I'm a little picky there. But now I'm just gonna be nitpicky about that at this point. So no major complaints on those that I pointed out. No major complaints. There are some improvements to be had. Of course, you know, this being a console this early, so hopefully there's no PlayStation 5 Pro, but who knows? I don't know, man. Like, maybe, is it really so necessary? I don't know. We'll see about that. I mean, technology improves so fast, and it's just hard to keep up with at times. I feel like in the future it'll be a little harder to keep up with, but we'll have to see about that. Hopefully there's no PlayStation 5 Pro, please, so I don't get suckered into buying one. But anyway, that'll be something for us to see. So anyways, that's all I got for the PlayStation 5 so far. I like it. I'm pleased with it so far. I would like to get more games for it. I would like to try, you know, Yakuza 7 or like Yakuza Like a Dragon on the PlayStation 5 once I pop in that disc in there. So that'll be another fun little game to test out, you know, and all that stuff. And of course, there is possibly Spider-Man and also Miles Morales in that one pack. So I'll probably buy it there and try it out. And man, I'm probably gonna have to see Peter Parker's new face, you know, as my first face I see for Peter Parker on my TV screen anyway, but that's okay. It's a minor issue. Anyways, that's all I got. If you have the PlayStation 5 yourself, what are your thoughts about it? I'd like to see those in the comment section below. If not, don't don't be so, you know, frantic or stressing out or anything like that to get the PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 5s will be shipping out throughout the weeks, and of course, you know, by Christmas time, of course. So don't, you know, try to give in and buy the PlayStation 5s from the scalper or something like that. They're coming. Everyone's gonna get one. You know, Sony isn't the company to sell these things like shoes. They're not exclusive. They're not limited or anything like that. So don't worry, you will have one in your hands in no time. So that's it for me, from the unboxing to the sort of initial review for me for the PlayStation 5. Really like it, and it's cool to now be a part of the next generation of gaming. I forget which gaming generation we're in now. I think we're in the 9th and the 8th. Maybe look that up real quick. But anyway, I think this is you know, a nice stepping stone for this new generation, thanks to the PlayStation 5 in my experience. So anyways, thank you so much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Sean out.